What's up, guys? It's the Pod Gods, Primetime Poulton. With me, the main event, Phil McNulty. I'm not even going to do an intro. Phil's coming in hot. Phil, let me have it.
First of all, before we went on the air, like for 10 seconds before we got on, I said, shout out to the best wrestling promotion in the world, Impact Wrestling. If you do not watch Impact Wrestling, you're a wrestling fan, you are doing yourself such a huge disservice because it is the best wrestling on television right now. Far and away the best. I was so hyped after Full Gear. So hyped after Full Gear. Mark sent me a text, you want to do a super show? I'm like, let's do it. Never have I ever been more disappointed in AEW because what I got last night was the worst AEW Dynamite I have ever seen. It was billed to be next level and it sucked ass. It was the and I said to Mark, "Oh, our best shows are when we disagree on stuff, right?" I came in today thinking, I hope the Pod Gods we have a boring episode because that means there's good wrestling. This was the most utterly confusing week of wrestling I've ever watched.
So, before AEW went on the air, Tony Khan had said, made some Dixie Carter-like tweets that they were changing the industry. I take it the main event does not feel like Tony Khan delivered.
This was such carny shit that Tony Khan did. And when you say change the landscape of professional wrestling, that means you better be signing CM Punk. Because there's only one person in professional wrestling that could change the landscape of getting people and getting eyes on the product. And that is CM Punk. He drew almost 2 million viewers on Fox Sports Channel, right? Not even Fox, on Fox Sports Channel, and then another 800,000 people on Fox on its second replay of it to see him on just talk about wrestling, right? We'll get into it, but that woman who showed up, right, and we know her name. Like, it was the most confusing thing I've ever seen. This was like TNA bad. This was this last night's wrestling on Wednesday was because I watched NXT afterwards to try to make myself feel better. NXT sucked just as hard as AEW. It made me think, did no one want to try this Wednesday? Did no one want to try?
So I'm going to give you an opportunity to cool down. We're going to talk some Impact Wrestling first. Before we do that, I just want to mention in the mail today, my upcoming graphic novel, U.S. Assassin Volume 2. I got the trading cards in. Take a look at these.
That's what I'm talking about. Those look just like those Ghost Rider trading cards I had when I was a kid.
Yeah. And the Dexter Weeks print.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we're in fulfillment mode. We're going to probably order the books this week. So I want to thank everyone who is a backer of the project. There's still opportunity. We're in demand right now, but we'll be placing the order shortly and hopefully start sending them out to backers end of the month. But
awesome stuff. I love Primetime Poulton gets me inspired to pick up my pencil again. Like, every time we've done this, I work a little bit more on the Eddie Edwards print. I got a promotion at work, so I've been super busy, right? But I drew Kenny the kendo stick, and my girlfriend was like, "This drawing is super awesome." I said, "Thank you, I appreciate it."
That's awesome. Can't wait to see it. Now, Impact Wrestling starts off with Caleb with the K in the ring. He's introducing the new tag team of Tennille Dashwood and Madison Rayne. Now, when they came together as a team last week, I was excited because I was like, oh, this is a pairing I didn't think I'd get. Madison's been sort of semi-retired recently, but they came together on Madison's talk show. I like to say it's all because of Johnny Swinger. Johnny Swinger just brings people together. But anyway, they're teaming up. They're trying to get a tune-up match in before this new Knockouts tournament starts, and they're up against Jessica Havoc and Nevaeh. And right off the bat, they're not gelling as a team. I think it all started when Madison tried to jump in the selfie with Caleb and Tennille before the match, but then they were arguing over who was going to start the match, and just didn't work out for them. Jessica Havoc and Nevaeh get the win. Tennille Dashwood still in search of a partner.
This was a good match, and I think mainly because of I think I may start being a conductor on a hype train, and that hype train is Havoc. Havoc for the past couple weeks, between her in-ring storytelling, her backstage segments, and her carrying these matches, has elevated her star level so much. She had one of the best interactions with Tommy Dreamer later in the episode. She is just a star when she walks out. I love her presentation. I love that spiked gas mask. She just feels awesome. Madison Rayne, we know Madison Rayne. She just oozes charisma, star power. Tennille Dashwood once again gets lost in the shuffle. I don't think this gimmick is for her. Caleb with a K. This episode started out with Caleb with a K. I'm like, really, dudes? That's how you're going to start off. But luckily, Impact knows how to put together a show. Nevaeh is what Nevaeh is. But overall, Havoc and Madison Rayne, they made me enjoy this match very much.
No, I like Nevaeh. I think she's been, perfectly fine as a partner for Havoc. I would go out on a limb and say they are probably the one of the favorites to win this Knockouts tournament.
I hope they do. I feel like they're a true team that deserves to win it.
So after the match, we go backstage. Gia is interviewing the Good Brothers. Ethan Page interrupts. He ends up slapping Carl Anderson. I'm sure Carl's wife has done that a bunch of times recently. But Carl Anderson delivers a stiff slap back. Ethan Page storms off. We're going to get Carl Anderson versus Josh Alexander in the main event. What'd you think of the backstage segment?
Based on the news, you sent me that list of contracts running up, and we get another one coming up later in the show. But those are legit. Those are shoot dates for their contracts ending. This only solidifies as Ethan Page being a mega superstar. He brings Edge-like quality matches, Edge-like quality backstage segments. I feel like I'm back in the Attitude Era, watching Edge and Christian and seeing Edge grow as a performer and know that his Intercontinental title reign, his King of the Ring victory, is on the horizon. Whether that is with Impact, I don't know. I've been saying he's AEW bound for quite some time, but after last night's episode, maybe he may want to stick with Impact for a little bit longer.
High praise from the main event. We get another backstage segment after this. I don't mind, though, because I find these segments enjoyable. It's Sherlock Tommy Dreamer questioning suspects. He starts off questioning Larry D. It's clearly not Larry D, but then he starts questioning Cody Deaner, and Cody, there was hints dropped throughout the weeks. He even flat out said he wanted to kill Johnny Bravo. Go ahead.
It's so good. This is what I want in wrestling. I love, it made me excited for matches, and when matches were ending, I said, "Oh, we get another backstage segment," and then that backstage segment would be so good, I was ready for another match. How they composed this week's episode, and I think because everyone got a little piece of the pie this week. It wasn't so Scott D'Amore heavy. It wasn't so Rich Swann heavy. Everybody got their sort of storyline in this week, and some really good matches. And I was really impressed with anything that's gone on since Wrestle House. Their backstage segments have been so good.
Agreed. We go to the ring after this. You're probably not going to be too thrilled with this. We get X Division Championship match. Rohit Raju defends against TJP. Now, I want to say this. When TJP comes walking to the ring, he looks like a star. When he wrestles, he looks like a star. Everything else Impact has him does, he does not look like a star or come off as a star.
Yeah, I don't know what, it's funny you said that because I was about to say this match had me entertained in the division of losers, right? TJP stood out the way he carried his music hit, and I was like, oh, who's this? And I saw TJP, I was like, damn, TJP, like that's what we want to see. I'm still not behind Rohit. I just think it's so hard. It was the same Jinder Mahal effect, It's a guy is a jobber for so long and automatically he gets a title. And we're supposed to believe those guys that he jobbed out to, he can now beat instantly. Like they didn't heat him up, and it's making anything that happens with him so cold.
So since Rohit won, TJP can't wrestle for the X Division title anymore. Does that mean he dons the mask and becomes Manic or Suicide again?
I just think we're gonna move on from TJP. I think this was for some reason to get Rohit over. Don't understand. I just don't. I'm very confused with the X Division. It's sort of like the redheaded stepchild of Impact. You don't want to watch it, but you're gonna see it anyway.
Another backstage segment after this, we have Hernandez confronting Fallah Bahh because Fallah stole his money. Hernandez, he goes in to be questioned by he's threatening Fallah, and Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan show up and defend Fallah, and then Hernandez takes off, and they're like hyping up Fallah, praising him, and meanwhile, while Kiera's talking to him, Tasha Steelz, aptly named, steals the wad of cash out of Fallah's pocket and replaces it with, what was that? A crushed soda can or something?
It was, yeah. This was so good. Tasha Steelz is a freaking star. Anytime she's on here, I think Kiera Hogan is bringing her down because it's now gotten to the point where Tasha Steelz, is going to take the loss between the two. You got to start flipping that because one person has the presence, and is it just me, or do you feel like she's rising above in her segments now?
Oh no, yeah, she's doing great. She's become very entertaining. I guess ever since they put a focus on the Knockouts tag division, her and Kiera Hogan have really made a name for themselves. I said Jessica Havoc and Nevaeh are one of the favorites, but I think Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan are right up there.
Mm-hmm.
After this segment, we then go to another segment. This one actually makes me kind of happy that the Rascals find out they're being evicted and they're leaving Impact. Who knows if they're actually leaving, but one can hope.
I can confirm that story. They already have deals with WWE. They're going they're signing with the WWE. They believe they're going to be joining NXT. Triple H pretty much signed them for NXT. He really likes Trey Miguel. I think he probably sees some Finn Balor in him. He likes the Rascals as a, Dez and Wentz to be sort of like tag team because NXT's tag team division is just straight up booty right now. So WWE, hopefully you do something with them. I will not be missing them on Impact.
Well, congratulations to them. I'm happy for them. Mm-hmm. I didn't like the treehouse gimmick. And the whole whatever this was. But I'm happy to see people succeed. So man, hats off to them. We go back to the ring. We have AC Romero with Larry D against Chris Sabin. This is in result to AC and Larry D attacking Chris Sabin attacking Alex Shelley during their backstage segment last week. This was a good match. I like seeing big guys use their weight to their advantage. So Chris Sabin was like the underdog fighting from underneath the whole time. He gets the win, but they're still playing Triple XL as serious threats. So afterwards they do the beat down on Saban. I like this.
This was what you want in pro wrestling. This big guy, little guy matchup. We know Chris Sabin is a future Impact Hall of Famer. Such a great in-ring technician. Tells such a great story. And later on, we get an even better story that gets me even more excited with Chris Sabin. It's going to be, I think it's going to push Triple XL. This is a nice way to start their push. This is how you heat somebody up. A comedy gimmick for so long. Actually, just we're coming out of a comedy segment, and Larry D started to say he found himself, and he started getting that vicious side. And AC Romero was like, I don't know about this, and then he starts buying into Larry D, and now you see AC come out, and you're like, this is how you heat up guys who were not winning, who are finding a new attitude change, seeing success in that attitude change. And again, you have Chris Sabin, who's money in everything he does. This is so good.
It makes me think it would have been nice if WWE did the same thing with Heavy Machinery.
Yep.
And made them a little more serious instead of, strictly comedy, and now to the point where they're broken up and both kind of floundering.
Yeah, it's a lot of WWE and AEW should just watch the last couple months of Impact and see what a good product is. I don't know the ratings on Axis. I think they're on a bad spot. They're on a bad spot at a bad time. So you have to really get some good cable to actually see Axis TV, or you have to pay for Impact streaming or Fight TV, and it's hard to really get eyes on this product. But if you can, go out of your way to do it.
Yeah, week in, week out, it's the best wrestling show. Another backstage segment. Sami Callihan approaches Chris Bay. Chris Bay has the match with Eddie Edwards this week, and Sammy's just kind of like, if you need help, I'm here for you. We have common enemies. I like the segment. The one thing I do not like is Chris Bay trying to work finesse into every promo he does.
Yeah, I think we've gotten to I think we've been watching a lot of Chris Bay since Slammiversary. And the immediate thing is every time he wrestles, we say we like the other guy better. And at first you're like, maybe it's just because we know these people. No, like Eddie Edwards took Chris Bay to task. I feel like Eddie Edwards is like, we're going to have a match tonight, and you better watch everything I do because this is how you get over. It really made me appreciate Eddie Edwards as a wrestler, as a storyteller. I think this was Eddie Edwards' best match in a long time. This was so fun to watch.
Yeah, I was starting to get worried because Impact hasn't treated Eddie Edwards too kindly lately. He's been taking a lot of L's ever since he dropped the title, but he pulled out the victory. Everyone comes out to Callahan comes out, Shamrock comes out, then Rich Swann comes out, then the Rascals come out. it was a lot of people involved. The line has been drawn as far as the battle in Impact Wrestling. You have Callahan almost like uniting all the villains in this Legion of Doom against the fan favorites of Impact.
Yeah, it's really good segment. I never know how to feel about Sami Callihan, but Eddie Edwards just brings out the best in him.
After the match, we get Tenille Dashwood. She approaches Jordynne Grace. She has Caleb ask Jordynne if she would reconsider being her tag team partner. Jordynne says Tenille needs to ask her. So Tenille does, and Jordynne Grace says, she can prove herself this weekend. Impact has a pay-per-view, Turning Point. It's actually a big pay-per-view week for Impact. They also have Talkin' Shop 2, which is Impact promoted. So 2 pay-per-views, Friday and Saturday. I have a question to ask you about Talking Shop.
Mhm.
This was filmed before Heath was hurt, and Heath is part of the show. Can I activate Heath, and then put him back on the DL?
In there. Get him in there.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Jordan and Tennille are going to team up at Turning Point. I have a feeling it's going to work out for them, and they're going to be a tag team for this tournament. I just hope it doesn't lead to a Jordan Grace Tennille Dashwood feud, because I feel like we've already gotten that.
Mm-hmm. They may win it just to do it's the old wrestling trope. Old wrestling trope. The opposites attract to win the title. We weren't supposed to win it. They argue, become friends, split up, feud.
Rich Swann thanks the Rascals for helping out, and he says, he's going to throw them like a going away party. He's going to team up with Trey, and they're going to take on Zachary Wentz and Desmond Xavier. So they're going to be, I don't know, it's kind of billed as the main event for next week. So pretty cool seeing the Rascals fight each other, but that's their way of sending them off nicely. So, we'll look forward to that next week. And then it is, we get a flashback segment, Beer Money versus the British Invasion. I thought, this was, I think this was put in there on purpose, because we're going to get, we'll just talk about it now. Chris Sabin, he's looking for a partner to take on Triple XL, and he's at a bar. And who is he drinking with? Cowboy James Storm.
This was so fun. This was so fun to see Impact greats with each other. Just their fun little interaction, and James Storm getting back to being Cowboy James Storm. He's like, that devil inside me hasn't been out for a long time, and just lifting the beer up and holding it up as Chris. It was, again, Impact does backstage segments better than anyone right now.
Yeah, and we get another one. And this one I enjoyed too. Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly backstage talking about Deanna's upcoming match with the Undead Bride, Sue Young, and how it's anything goes match. Lights go out, lights come back on. Kimberly not there. In blood written on the window. I forget what it says, but
I think you're alone now.
Yeah, and then Kimberly's thrown up against the window from outside, and she like slides down the glass. This was great, fun stuff.
I think Peraza is going to take the belt. I think this is a good time for them to, if they really want to pop their streaming service and really want to pop their little $10 papes, have something happen on them, because right now it's been very much chalk. The teams you think are going to win. This could be a nice little thing to get Triple XL a win, beat Sabin or Storm, right? This is a good way to get Deonna Purrazzo back as champion. Do little surprises, get people back interested into the product, as we're sort of hitting those, our dry spells in wrestling. It's normally around this year, towards the end of the year, that we sort of go cold, no pun intended, with storylines.
Yeah. Speaking of a match that really had no storyline, Reno Scum took on Falaba and Crazy Steve next. Reno Scum gets the win. It was kind of a throwaway match, but at least they're building up Reno Scum. With Heath and Rhino out, they need one. I think they kind of need another team to step up. So we're getting Triple XL. We're getting Reno Scum now. So I have no complaints with this match.
No, for as much shit as we talk about Reno Scum, this was actually really good. I think it was a nice little way to actually get an established tag team. Again, Impact heats up guys who have been losing matches, but they're beating teams that are put together. So it doesn't hurt Crazy Steve. It doesn't hurt Falaba. They're not a tag team anyway. So it's nice that you're getting a tag team heated up again. Again, kudos to Impact Wrestling.
Yeah. We check in on Moose next. He's being cleared. He's medically cleared to wrestle Moose at Turning Point. Moose runs in, beats up Willie Mack. I love these segments. I love the music that they're adding to Moose's attacks now.
Moose is such a freaking star, and Impact knows it, and they're not afraid to spend a little extra money on it. I don't know this. I hope hopefully this leads to Moose beating Rich Swann for the Impact Championship and then tossing the Impact Championship away and only defending the TNA Championship, because this guy is he if his contract is running up soon, somebody's going to nab him. I would not be surprised if the WWE takes him right away and just not doesn't take him for NXT, goes straight to main roster with this guy, because he's just money.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Moose even unified both titles and Impact introduced another belt, because Impact seems like they're changing the look of their belt every 6 months.
A custom Moose belt would be awesome.
Oh, that would be awesome with like antlers and
Yeah.
stuff. It'd be like the Brahma Bull belt that
he's
the
bigger
Rock
than Impact. He's bigger than TNA. It's Moose Wrestling.
There you go. We should be booking this. It's main event time. We got Carl Anderson with Luke Gallows with him, and he's taking on Josh Alexander, who has Ethan Page with them. This match it ends up getting thrown. Anderson wins by DQ because Ethan Page gets involved in the match. This leads me to believe that the Good Brothers, they're not winning the belts at Turning Point because they won the previous 2 weeks in a row.
And I think it's a good way to elevate the North. I mean, they're so good as it is. Ethan Page is hysterical. It's like we cannot say, to me, they're the modern day Edge and Christian. Will they be as good as Edge and Christian? I don't know. But if, for a lack of a better comparison, Josh Alexander has that Christian quality to him. Like if he turns face, you'd probably root for him because he's really good at what he does. And Ethan Page is just like the most likable person in wrestling. We watch his vlog, for Christ's sake. That's how entertaining he is.
Did you see he just released? He's getting his own wrestling buddy.
It's so cool. He is a star. He's gonna be one of those people that can actually change. I think can actually bring fans of the product. It's been a long time before someone can join. I thought Kenny Omega was going to be that person. But I think AEW did a disservice to him early on. I think they promoted Moxley too much, and you killed the actual real star of it.
So that was it for Impact Wrestling this weekend. Like we said, we have Talkin' Shop Mania 2, and we have Turning Point. It'll be a good weekend for all the Impact fans. One last thing, I listened to this week's Talking Shop podcast, and it was titled Carl Anderson. How'd they label it? Carl Anderson fesses up or something like that. It was something very clickbaity. So I listened to it, and he just confessed that he missed podcasting because he hadn't been on the show the last 2 weeks. Yeah, big disappointment. But I am looking forward to Talking Shop Mania 2. Lots of guys from Impact are going to be on it. Heath, Brian Myers, I think Hornswoggle's on it. So should be awesome.
All right, so let's get to how our week started with wrestling. I don't know if you watched SmackDown on Friday. If you watched the latest SmackDown, it's like Roman Reigns is right. It's filet mignon. Like the first hour of SmackDown was like Bayley and Sasha coming off their Hell in a Cell classic. It's so good. I'm glad that SmackDown is very entertaining. I'm glad that I can sit down on Friday nights after a long work week and just chill and watch it. So I'm going into Full Gear hype, and Full Gear in my eyes did not disappoint. Were you able to catch Full Gear?
I did not see it. So fill me in.
So the pre-show had the NWA Women's Championship being defended. Serena Deeb versus I forget who it was. Allison Kay, right? So Serena Deeb wins, and then out comes Thunder Rosa. So it looks like the rumors of Thunder Rosa leaving to go to the WWE was just that, just rumors. I think a lot of independent performers like the fact that they can go everywhere. So then, it's a non-match. And I'm thinking, all right, how are we going to get the show started? Is it going to be a nice comedy match with Silver and Cassidy? Is it going to be the TNT Championship? Right? What's it going to be? It's freaking Hangman versus Kenny
Oh,
to
wow.
open the show. And oh my goodness, it was what we expected it was. It was such a good match. Hangman loses, in which he tried to go for a one-winged angel to Omega. Omega counters it and puts him in the one-winged angel and ends up getting the win. And just the end where Kenny's like and walks out, right? That's how he back to being the cleaner, baby. He cleans his hands and walks away, and you just see Hangman's head on the bottom rope, like he doesn't know what to do with himself. And you're just like, I can't wait for Wednesday, right? So then the next match up, we had Orange Cassidy versus John Silver. John Silver gets so angry every time Orange goes to put his hands in his pockets. He goes, no, no, no. Like, at one point, he rips the pockets out of Orange's pants, right? We know that Orange wins it, but Johnny Silver is God's gift of wrestling right now. So what was another great match? So this show is just rolling on, because the next match, I took plenty of hits on the fantasy wise, because this one hurt my team especially. Darby Allin is our new TNT champion. It was really good. Darby does his Darby thing. He didn't look like an idiot. He actually, and he won on a roll up. Like, it wasn't, those back and forth counters and 1-2 counter, 1-2. So you think that's what's going to be. On the fourth time when Darby rolls over Cody doesn't kick out. And
Wow.
we're all surprised. And I was like, wow, this is pretty great little ending there. And then he presents the belt to Darby, and then Taz comes out, is like, cut this shit off. And Team Taz just comes in, and they come in and they just start beating it up, and it was pretty darn good fun.
I got to say, after the Dark Order, Team Taz is probably my favorite thing going in AEW right now.
You know what? This is what I thought was going to be awesome when we get to our full thing, because Brian Cage versus Matt Sydal was the opening match of following Full Gear. It felt like a classic WWE Attitude Era WWF, where you had a really great pay-per-view, and then the next episode it starts out with a match that elevates two guys that you weren't expecting to see. This is where Jericho would come in and he would wrestle somebody like Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. This was fun, where you would get two guys that you haven't, that aren't the mega stars at that point, and they start elevating them. So, but yeah, Team Taz is Ricky Starks he better take his belt off of Darby, because he's always talking about how handsome he is, and they constantly push the face of the network. So next up, we had a cool down match. It was okay. Nyla Rose versus Sheeta. Sheeta picks up the win. Their women's division is their women's division. Then we got the match everyone's been waiting years for. It was the Bucks versus FTR. And it was an incredibly good storytelling. That's what you expect from these two. And the way they lost was Wheeler goes to do a high flying spot, and he gets caught with a super kick, and that's how it ends.
Was Tully not with them?
Tully was not with them.
Was it explained?
No, they told him to stay in the back.
Oh, okay.
Because it was kind of that, we're here. But after this, you found out that it looks like FTR is done with AEW.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
the scuttlebutt on the news sites is that they were only there for a few couple months. They just really wanted to feud with the Bucks. They were glad to be champions. They released their new sweatpants and like jackets to be like sweatsuits to be like they have all the championships, but the one they don't have is the IWGP tag. So it looks like they may be going to New Japan. They're just enjoying their freedom. So
Yeah.
The Bucks came out, nice win for them. The Bucks are becoming the Bucks. They slowly curbed that heel turn on. Like that last episode before that go home show, they were like, this heel turn ain't doing shit. And really, the Bucks are too much faces now. They can't revert back to those characters they once were. They've grown so much as performers. But Omega came out and celebrated with them. So it was a nice little crowning moment. So next up, we had the Elite Deletion match with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. Sammy pulls up in the golf cart. And all of a sudden, Matt Hardy's drone comes out and he projects Matt Hardy going, "Welcome to the Hardy compound." All of a sudden, you see lights flash up. It's Matt Hardy in a monster truck, and he runs over the golf cart of Sammy Guevara. The Hurricane Helms showed up. Gangrel showed up. It was what you fully expect from a Hardy compound match, and it was nice. The ending. Do you remember how they wrote Matt Hardy off of WWE television?
Was it with Randy Orton taking him out?
Randy Orton's chair shot to the head.
Yeah.
He did that to Sammy Guevara to win the match. So it was like a nice full circle for Matt Hardy. And all in all, and then of course Rebby's playing her music, and none other than Senor Benjamin comes out and drives away Sammy Guevara. Private Party was involved. Proud and Powerful was involved, and they came in, and it was nice to see like all the storylines wrap up right then and there, because I think we know where we're going with Sammy.
Yeah.
So then we had Chris Jericho versus MJF. And do you know MJF? Obviously, you know MJF won the match. Do you know how he won the match?
No.
He pulled the old Eddie Guerrero, pretend to be hit while Jericho had the bat, and they disqualified Jericho.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's how MJF won, right? So he didn't get pinned. Jericho would play the face, and the crowd absolutely ate it up. We are gonna see a Jericho face turn, baby. Like this is gonna be exactly what we thought it was in my eyes. So then we hit main event time. Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston. No surprise to the result. It was Eddie Kingston saying, "I quit," and then Omega comes out and goes like this to the ring, like we're going to the wrestling ring. So Full Gear, much better than their last pay-per-view that had so many botches and weird moments. This is what you come to expect from AEW pay-per-views. Their storytelling, their storylines lead up and they end, and we move on.
So going into this week's episode, it sounds like you were on a high. You couldn't wait for the episode.
After the match, after the show ended, Tony Khan in his scrum was like, we're having Beach Break, because that's their new name for Bash at the Beach, because apparently they traded the trademark to Bash at the Beach for Cody Rhodes' name back.
Yeah.
So they did a bit of a trade-off there. So they were hyping up that Omega's going to speak and Moxley's going to speak and the Young Bucks are going to celebrate their title win, right? And you're just like, this is going to be, right? They're going to crown Darby Allin as the new face of TNT, and they said that it was going to be Matt Sydal versus Brian Cage to open up the match, and it was just, so they said more surprises, and then Tony Khan tweets hours before the show, changing the landscape of professional wrestling. And that's when we got to 2001 WCW territory. Did you watch Dynamite last night?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So I thought, it started off great with
Mhm.
the Brian Cage Matt Sydal match. I was like, oh, that match was incredible. I thought, especially the ending where Brian Cage caught Matt Sydal for the drill claw. It was amazing. Maybe one of the best finishes since Randy Orton caught Evan Bourne with the RKO.
And new intro. The intro was new. They had some new pyro. So I'm all hyped for this. And this match, it just shows you, like, my brother was like, I always wondered why, Evan Bourne always fought top tier guys in wrestling. And he's like, he just pulls off the little guy role so much, like, that you think he can win, and then something amazing happens to him, unfortunately. Um, but I love that. I love that they come out and they win. I mean, I love that Team Taz is starting to get that win. They cut a promo. They call out Darby Allin on the top, and Darby Allin's wearing that thumbtack jacket, which was a nice little Darby Allin thing.
Yeah.
So the show's starting off super hot.
Yeah. And Starks is now ranked. Previously he wasn't, and he's number 5 now. Brian Cage number 1. So things are going well for Team Taz. After that, is that when we then go into the Cody segment?
Yes, and this is where I thought, here he comes. If you're changing the landscape, you better pull out the biggest gun you have and say, all right, if they can sign FTR for a couple months, you can sign Punk for a couple months. He's not just showing the money, dude.
So when this woman from ringside interrupts him, and we've seen her for a few weeks, the camera always made sure to show her. I was still into it. I was like, oh, I wonder who she's with, because she kept referring to a giant, and never in my wildest dreams would I have thought it would be Shaquille O'Neal. Oh, terrible.
When she says, my name is Jay, I'm like, did she just fucking seizure out? What the hell's going on? And it seemed like she emphasized the wrong words. It was the most cringe thing I've seen in AEW. This is the most cringe thing AEW's ever done. She kept referring to a big guy, and he's going to be a real giant. And it was, and then Brandy came out, luckily, at the end of this stupid ass segment, and just tore this woman to bits. And I couldn't have been happier.
Yeah, big disappointment. I never even thought about CM Punk, but I hadn't heard about Tony Khan's changing the landscape thing until afterwards. I saw it later today on Twitter. So yeah, big disappointment. I could see how you would think it would have been CM Punk, but my mind was racing. I was trying to think all the big guys available.
Yeah.
So yeah, Shaquille O'Neal was not the person I was thinking of.
And so now we get the match that nobody asked for: Stardust versus Shazam. So let's let's go ahead, and it just makes no sense. The promos were lackluster. The best thing that happened after this was Team Taz came back out and beat the shit out of Cody up until Darby comes out and makes the save.
And he uses that jacket, yeah.
But Cage is such a badass. He pulls the pins out, and funny thing was Starks goes like this to his chest to brush more off of him. Team Taz, they constantly get me wins. They're keeping me up. Both these dudes, they are so good, and I love that little. They both hold the belt, the TNT Championship, and they tug at it a bit. But I hope Starks wins it. I think he has really shined these past couple months.
Yeah, I would love to see Starks win the TNT title and have Cage defend the FTW title as like a big man title. Have him take on guys like Archer, Will Hobbs. Who knows? Even Shaquille O'Neal.
So, do you know the famous segment? Like, we've both listened to Bruce Pritchard's podcast, right? And he always says his segment, He always says that thing right before shit's about to turn bad. He goes, and then the bell rang.
Yeah.
Right. This was a very much, and then the bell rang thing. And then this was followed up, and this is where, so if that segment wasn't enough for you, we get more Nightmare Family shoved down our throats, especially QT Marshall. Why is he on my television? What is a bunkhouse match? It felt like AEW Dark and just so bad. Up until this point, we've not heard from Omega. We've not heard from Moxley. We've not heard from the Bucks. No stars, quote unquote, of your top guys are on the show. The Elite started All Elite Wrestling. The fact that they're not even up here yet, it just sucks.
I'm going to disagree with you. I love this bunkhouse match.
Oh.
The bunkhouse match was created by Cody's dad, Dusty Rhodes. He was the bunkhouse champion. So I can see why they had the match. But, you know, this was a bloody match. QT Marshall was busted open. Blade, he was a wearing the crimson mask. I really enjoyed this. I felt like the wrong guys got the victory. Dustin and QT got the win. For what at one point, Dustin was handcuffed to the turnbuckle, and he fell off the ring. I thought he was still handcuffed. I thought he was going to like dislocate his shoulder or something, but apparently they explained it that the handcuff broke. I don't know if it was ever hooked to begin with, but I thought this match was a lot of fun. Even the bunny showing a vicious side, digging her nails into QT Marshall's busted open forehead. This was fun in my mind.
I just didn't care, and
yeah,
and they were trying to make me care, and Butcher and Blade came out. I loved Butcher with the double bandanas, and then he took one of them off. I said, "This is great. Just wrestle with the bandana over your head." Then he took the second one off, and then the bell rang, and I went, and I just sat there. I sat there on my phone, just checking it out because not only am I so, I'm reading Twitter about this Jay like stuff and Shaq, and we're all equally disappointed on the IWC, and it was not for me.
Well, to anyone listening, if you enjoyed the bunkhouse match, let us know, because I loved it. Phil hated it, so let's see who you guys agree with.
Thank you. Yeah, more fan interaction. Please tell us if you like that shitty match or not. So next up, we had MJF's Inner Circle induction. One probably the brightest spot of. No, I'm not even gonna say it's the brightest spot. It had its moments. We induct Wardlow. One of the best things was when who was it? JR or Tony Schiavone said, "Oh, I think this deal's good because you're getting Wardlow in there," and that's when I'm just like, yeah, that dude is so. He just has that presence.
Yeah. I think it was Shivani who mentioned that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for the longest time, they were just saying to the buildup of this, MJF joins the Inner Circle. And I was like, how are they going to play this? Is Wardlow still going to be like an employee of MJF? But I like that they mentioned that Wardlow is part of the Inner Circle now, too.
Yeah, and, MJF plagiarizes Drake. He reads the lyrics, and the promo was funny. If I did say this was a very Chris Jericho Attitude Era Y2J promo. I started off with humble beginnings when my dad gave me $1 million to seek my dream. Like it was when I wrestled a top 5 match at the older age of 24 years old. It was a nice shit heel promo. But then I was expecting more from it. I think, I was expecting maybe a heel turn, a face turn. But no, we're going to Vegas, baby, for Jericho. It just was a weird transition. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the big mystery, Sammy Guevara wasn't with them, so it was like, where's Sammy?
Mhm.
Ortiz still isn't on board with MJF being part of the inner circle, so there's still conflict for them. Maybe next week it'll be Las Vegas will be a chance for MJF to try to win over Ortiz. I feel like eventually he'll win Ortiz over, but he's never going to win Sammy over, and I don't think he wants Sammy part of his inner circle.
I think Sammy and Jericho are going to be in for major face turns, and I think they are the two that's going to be. I wonder what's going to happen with Ortiz, because Ortiz has been the most interesting, I think, in these segments.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see where it goes. I think it is turning into Jericho being super babyface again, because we know this is what he does. He takes, whether it be the Festival of Friendship, whether it be with Christian, whether it be with Shawn Michaels, he plays that guy. Whether he turns heel or face, it's always a double cross. It's always a turn. And he does, and think about those I just rattled off the top of my head. I'm just not saying that because I'm a Jericho mark. He really is. This is why he's my favorite, because he builds these intricate stories.
Yeah, and during this build, Jake Hager and Wardlow have always been having the stare down. This week, Jake Hager had his arm around MJF, so he's on board with MJF being part of the inner circle now. It would be awesome if they teamed Jake and Wardlow up. That would be a monster tag team.
That would be so much fun to watch. Again, we talked about Jordan Grace and Tennille Dashwood. We don't know, but can you imagine the presence of those two dudes together? That'd be awesome.
So what's next on the card?
So next up, we continue another AEW Dark rivalry, and I'm being totally honest and straight faced when I say that. When Scorpio Sky versus Shawn Spears, and Spears picks up the win because, in classic WWE fashion, Scorpio Sky is the babyface, and henceforth he is stupid. And Tully Blanchard gives both of these guys weapons, like an old initiation thing, and Scorpio Sky throws it into the crowd, and he turns around, he gets blasted with a weapon by Spears, and you're just like, what is this?
Again, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I like this. They've been on Dynamite. They have been teasing something between Shawn Spears and Scorpio Sky ever since Spears had that weird stare down with Scorpio Sky on his way to the ring. So I'm glad we got the match on Dynamite and not Dark. And I love the old schoolness. Tully Blanchard is an old school guy. The loaded glove is an old school wrestling prop. So I like it. And they even made mention of Blackjack Mulligan, Barry Windham, people who have used the gloves. So I have no problem with this, and I'm glad Shawn Spears won.
Me too. I think the best part of this result is I think the right guy won.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know what to do with Scorpio Sky. I think SCU has floundered so much. You know, when they always say an indie darling, they were indie darlings. And, you think you have the cachet of Kazarian and Daniels, but Kazarian's so good on being the elite, and you don't see him anywhere on. Once again, being the elite is better than Dynamite when it comes to backstage segments and storylines, the stuff you're supposed to make your money on. I just don't know. I don't know about Scorpio Sky. He kind of feels like John Morrison to me.
Oh,
good.
Yeah. No,
good
I get
worker, can get the fans on your side of the ring. His mic skills leave a lot to be desired. He just is not connecting with the fans. No one's clamoring for him. I love John Morrison. So for me as Primetime Poulton will tell you, I've met John Morrison. Awesome dude.
You had your John Morrison sunglasses on when you met John Morrison.
Yeah, and he was like classic Morrison stuff, right? So this is when he was Johnny Mundo, right? And you're just like, or Johnny Impact. He was doing both, and they got the tools. It's just something is missing, and I don't know what it is with Scorpio Sky, but I think something is missing.
No, I totally agree with you. When you mentioned Kazarian, I just want to say, just his little thing, do ya, on being the elite cracks me up every time.
I love grumpy old man Kazarian. He takes like ownership of it.
Yeah.
So next up, we had Ty Conti with Anna Jay versus Red Velvet with Brandy Rhodes. Brandy, quit while you're ahead, Brandy. This was an okay match. Ty Conti's really good.
I agree.
Anna Jay being disappointed in her friend not cheating to win, but winning on her own was very good. I don't know what to think of Red Velvet. She came out of nowhere and they're trying to like say she's the best thing since sliced bread. Nothing insults a wrestling fan's intelligence more than saying this person's going to be the best since sliced bread. They did it with The Rock, with Rocky Maivia. He's a real blue chipper, guys. He's going to be no. Don't force feed it to us. Let us genuinely make our decisions, and then it's why The Rock is one of the greatest of all time. They tried to force feed it. The fans hated it, and they rolled with it. They let The Rock be hated. And that hatred got fans over, and he became the biggest star in all of sports entertainment. Like, you got to let us decide, because we're on. Don't worry, like, we're not going to stop watching. We're there for the ride with them. We just never, just don't push us on there. Let us go on there ourselves.
Right. I loved all the stuff between Taya and Anna Jay. Especially, I loved. I think it was Tony Schiavone again saying, just from Taya's perspective, can't we just be friends? Do I have to join your cult?
This was, we gave a lot of flack to the AEW's women division, right? Anna Jay, and here's another thing. Where's Britt Baker? Like, why is it?
Yeah.
If you're not focusing on any stars whatsoever, Moxley had a promo. It was a Moxley I don't care anymore promo, right? It was one of those, because Eddie Kinks has brought out so much of that feud that when Moxley's no longer ready to cut a promo, he's no longer ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Omega cuts a weird promo. I mean, I love what he said in his promo. Like, I never wrestled Jon Moxley before because it was that unsanctioned match. We've never wrestled in a ring before. Like, it was a nice shit heel thing. And he got like a phone call during it. I don't know where they're leading with it. I'd rather have Kenny Omega. I know they want to be different. Be tried and true. Come out to the middle of the ring and beat him down verbally. Because now it felt like there was so much coming out of the pay-per-view with Kenny Omega, right? Now you don't know what to think anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You're saying it was the same old from Moxley, but he does it really well. When he does it, you're like, yeah, it's believable. So and to your point about Kenny Omega and Kenny saying they've never wrestled before, it only furthers Kenny being a heel. They're giving this match away for free. It's going to be December 2nd on Dynamite. I'm looking forward to it. Do you think we get a new champion?
Kenny has to win. This has to be you can put it on pay-per-view if you want. You can put it on pay-per-view if 50-50 whether Moxley or Omega is going to win. You're going to pay to see that. In order to take that next step and be a viable alternative, there's no one who's been more king alternative than Kenny Omega. And you have to give it away on free television. This is where you bring new fans in. Let those internet wrestling fans and people who are on the fence, who don't want to watch WWE anymore or who haven't seen wrestling in a while, show them a familiar name, but beat them with the guy that is basically co-founder of the company.
Yeah. I had to take my glasses off. They were making me cross-eyed looking at the Primetime.
And so then we get to our main event, Rey Fenix versus Penta.
I really like this match. I like that they were both going at each other, or trying to rip off each other's masks. On Eddie Kingston, I thought added a lot on commentary, and he was clearly playing favorites. And he's played favorites with these guys from the beginning. Penta is his best friend. I always wondered how that made Rey Fenix feel. Is he jealous?
I loved after the match when Kingston just says, "Yeah, let's give it up to my best friend. Let's give it to my best friend," and then he kicks Rey out of the ring. That was a nice touch.
Yeah, and then surprise, surprise, Pac returns.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, I didn't care. I mean, like, I think it would have been better on the pay-per-view where the show was so good that it makes another memorable moment. This just kind of felt like after the complete suckiness of the show for me up till now, I just couldn't care. Like your big announcement was Shaq, so obviously, way to disappoint poor Pac, who hasn't. It felt like it didn't give him a good reset.
Yeah. Are the Lucha Brothers no more? Are they going to join? Like, is Rey going to join Pac? And
I don't know. I mean, I'll be interested to see.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything that happens, I think that Eddie Kingston and Pac are going to have amazing promos.
Yeah. and who would have thought? WWE never really gave Neville a chance. Maybe when he became like the king of the cruiserweights, he started to get over with his personality. But no, he's great as the bastard.
Yeah. So that is how we end our wrestling week. A new one about to start this weekend as sort of Impact starts off their little pay-per-view. So overall, one of the most confusing weeks I've ever felt about being a professional wrestling fan.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised you were so hard on this week's Impact, but hearing your side of it, I get it.
When you can't
escape the fact that Tony Khan, promised the world and gave us Shaq.
Yeah, and after a great pay-per-view, like you were
Yeah.
coming out, if you watched Full Gear, you were ready to rock and roll, and you're like, "This is why I watch AEW." And after the show ended, everyone, "This is why I watch AEW."
Right. So, Phil, where can people find you at?
Find me on Facebook, not Facebook. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at AnimatedPhil.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Coney Waves. Make sure you subscribe to Primetime Poulton, hit the notifications, and Phil and I will see you next week for another week of wrestling.